Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another Fired Up Friday with Candidly Tiff and I. And we're so excited. We got lots to talk about. I want to get a little housekeeping out of the way. So we appreciate you joining us. Don't forget to hit the hearts while you're here. Help the algorithm, whatever app you are, joining us from. And feel free to join us in the chat. We'll try to engage as much as possible. But we're going to get this conversation started because it's lots to talk about. And mostly we're going to be focusing on the elections, especially the ones that we had this week. I think very exciting. But I also, we just want to cover some of the things that are driving the elections, some of the, issues that are top of mind that are, I think, important. And we're going to get started. And I think Tip and I are both anxious to talk about the Florida elections. So we're going to just dive right in because
it's been a crazy 2 weeks, that's for sure.
Exactly. And Miss Angie Nixon knocked it out of the park, and she is out here smashing it in her interviews. I love it. I saw the on your timeline, you sharing the interview with her and Kristen Welker, which I think was excellent. Like, people need to take note. And of course, Al Said in Michigan, he won handily, but he's still getting a lot of smoke. And there's a lot of issues around the labels, the DSA, and all of this stuff. So let's just get into it. Don't forget to hit those hearts. So Tiff, go ahead, my friend.
Well, let's talk about Miss Angie, okay? Because
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people had no idea who Angie was. I think some people knew her from 2023 when there was a shooting in the Jacksonville area where she's from. And people remember her from her interview that she gave, a very passionate interview that she gave on MSNBC at the time. And they remember her picture where she's standing face to face with Ron DeSantis, and she has her hands folded and she's giving him the look, like the look. And like they said, if looks could kill, right? And so I think people that were around at that time remember that weekend. It was a very tragic weekend. A lot of us were. This is when shootings actually mattered on the news, and they actually covered them, and there was, like coverage for hours about them. And that weekend, it was kind of the big topic of the weekend. And it was, I think there was an event that was happening in that area at the same time, from what I remember. I want to say it was kind of like a convention or something of another. So there was a lot of buzz about it, and we don't get that anymore. When there's shootings that happen, we don't even think it's like a blip now. So I remember her from then. So I had been following her since 2023. So when she's fighting in the legislature, when she's, doing events, I'm seeing all of her stuff. But of course, she's in Florida. Like, I'm here. So you can respect and you can admire people from a distance. And when I saw that she was running, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, we'll see how this goes. And then I didn't even realize that the Vindman brother was running, because the other brother is in Congress. He's the congressman in Virginia. So I didn't even realize that the other Vindman was running. I just was like, okay, Angie's running, cool. I support her campaign. I hope she wins, but I'm mind my business. And then I realized that the Vindman brother was running, and what I kind of really got into it more so when I saw what Rachel Vindman, which is Alex Vindman's wife, said about Angie. And I was like, wow, that was really disrespectful. So the people that don't know, she wrote a thread. And she was basically saying that Angie only has like 20 people at her events, and she's not really talking about, and she knows who she's talking about, and that she needs to dress more professionally, and she needs to get better shoes, which was so juvenile.
Insane.
Yeah, juvenile as can be, and pathetic. And I'm just like, okay, so that kind of got me more like interested in the race because I'm like, once I see something, I'm like, oh, here we go. And I just started paying a little bit more attention to it. So I'm seeing, Angie's video, she's going all, and she did a really cute video with Maxwell Frost as well, which I liked. And she, like I said, you follow people, but you don't really necessarily get. And I have friends who were like helping her phone bank and things like that. So I was just watching it from a distance. We had enough stuff going on in all these
Like
other states.
in all of our states,
Yeah,
there is a lot.
we've all been busy, kind of just, watching everything unfold. So Florida kind of was off the radar for the most part because Democrats really don't pay attention to Florida that much anymore. But as we got closer to Tuesday, I was like, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen in this race. We'll see. I know he has a lot of money. I don't really know what's going on too much in Florida. I didn't even talk to like my people in Florida to figure out like what they were doing. I know the focus was mostly on David Jolly because obviously people are sick of the governor and Byron Donalds. And so it was kind of a lot of focus on that. But nonetheless, as the evening started to progress, I'm like, let me check these results. And I started seeing more and more votes for Angie. And I'm like, oh, this is getting very interesting because, you just never know. And the fact that she won to me by 150,000 plus votes is a testament to her campaigning, being on the ground, doing the work, and not doing it in a way that was performative or that people were trying to seek attention. She was doing it because that's who she is, and she's a fighter, and she wanted to win. And she was. I remember one night watching her video where she was saying that she was, I think, in like northern Florida, and she was driving down to southern Florida like 3 hours. She's like, I'm gonna be on the road like all day. It's like 24 hours. I'm going down and I'm coming back. Like she was all over the place. I didn't even realize this until I watched the interview today. She has 5 children.
Exactly.
And she was a single mother for 12 years. So that woman knows how to work. Okay. She knows how to bust her ass and be able to do what needs to be done. And I appreciate that about her because like I said, I know she's a fighter. I know she wants what's good for people. And we can talk about the labels, and we're going to talk about that because I think that's a really important conversation. But I want to give her props first to say congratulations for doing something that people didn't even think was possible and did it, to me, with class and poise and grace. And knowing that these people were talking bad about her. I mean, Vindman didn't even want to debate her. He was pretending like he was gonna win, and she won.
I mean, it felt like he was just going to be anointed. And
Yeah.
so what we have seen in many of these recent races, where people assume, and then, like the polls, which, I don't do at all, but they're all over the place. But people, believing and leaning into the polls and things, and resting on their laurels, or big money and support, which we know big money, we've talked about that, it has been a huge factor, not in a good way, in these elections in the primary season here. But I had heard from people who do live there that he really wasn't getting out there campaigning. And you and I both have said, when you do the work, it shows. When you do the work, people show up and vote for you. I mean, the amount of money that he was sitting on versus what she was sitting on, I think is a testament to the work that she did to win. She worked her butt off. And you got to give her props for that. And Democrats need to understand that just because people believe in democracy, and currently they are the only party that is really fighting to uphold democracy, they cannot assume that people will be logical and vote for them, or the folks that they are pushing or whatever. People are hurting, and people want to know who is actually going to fight for them. And the first inclination of that is who they see coming to talk to them, asking for your vote, because, I was involved in politics on a local level, and that is just basic campaigning. You need to ask for people's votes. You cannot assume that you have them because you have a party label or whatever. It just isn't
Yeah,
the
it
time
doesn't
that
work.
we're in now.
Yeah, and it doesn't work like that, right? I saw my own senator fight her battles here and up against $60 million, and she had to go all over, but she had events. She was up and down the state and trying to win. And in the end, she did end up winning, and she ended up, becoming our senator. And she had a tough race both times. And people think Maryland, is a blue state, but there is very much a lot of people in this state that will vote for, say, Larry Hogan, who was her competitor in the general election, who won with black votes. He got 20% of the black vote in this state when he ran in 2018 again, and he was running against a black man. So you can't assume that just because he actually won against two black men, you would assume that in this state that a black person would win. But that's not always how the cookie crumbles around here. You got to go do the work, and you got to get out there, and you got to bust your behind and be able to talk to voters and tell them your message, what it is that you are running for, what are you against, and ask them to vote for you. And you cannot rely just on ads alone. I mean, the fact that Angie only spent $60,000 on advertisements and still prevailed, and he spent 2.2, which is not a lot of money, to be honest, for Florida. I mean, Florida has multiple media outlets, and so in multiple markets, so you have to spend. So the fact that he had so much money and didn't even spend it kind of just lends to what I had said that night, which is he definitely had white male arrogance syndrome, because he assumed that because he was a white man and he was going against this black woman who had no money, that he could win, and ran a very lazy campaign based on everything that I've read. And she was out there putting in the work, going up and down the state, which I was seeing her doing in real time. And it is impressive. And I'm never going to feel bad about supporting her. And yes, I made the tweet congratulating her on purpose, because guess what? She deserved to be congratulated. When you I wouldn't even say she was like the underdog in this race. She was just not the person that people assumed was going to win. Because you know what I mean? It's not, people just presumed that she was not going to be the nominee.
And a lot of that assumption came from the fact that she did something unusual late in the game and joined DSA. And so they thought that that was going to be a death knell for her.
But the thing is, Disney, what's funny is the night that I made my post and said congratulations, because I study a lot of this stuff with DSA.
Yes, we're politicos.
Like when Francesca Hong lost the week before, she was going to be the first DSA person who had won statewide. So I had noted that in my post, saying, congratulations, David Crowley, and the fact that Francesca Hong would have been the first. So I already kind of knew, like, historically where we were. So when I saw that, first of all, I didn't even know. I knew Angie was more leaning, more leftist, because I saw her in a video and they were asking her about the Democratic Party. And she basically said, listen, the party is not paying attention to the people. They're not doing what needs to be done. And so she was kind of like almost a little bit negative about the Democratic Party. So I knew that she kind of leaned that way, but I didn't even know she was DSA until like maybe a couple of weeks ago. There were people in my comments saying, she's not DSA. People in Florida, they're like, she's not DSA. I'm like, actually, she is DSA, and I have the receipt to prove it. She just joined, but she is a card-carrying member of the DSA. So I will give them credit, because she is the first member of DSA to win statewide, which has always been one of my criticisms, is that they cannot win statewide elections. So why would I not give her credit for that? really has nothing to do with DSA, so to speak, because it's just a membership and a label. But she is still the first, and then she will be in the history books if they ever become anything more than what they are. That she would be the first one, and to me, that's an accomplishment, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. And I love the way let's talk about her interview and how Kristen was questioning her, and she was really going hard on that DSA or whatever.
Mhm.
And what I gathered from that is that and of course here in my state with Justin, like he aligns with them
Mhm.
as well. But what you see with both these two candidates and others is that while they may claim membership to this organization, uh, they don't
It doesn't define them.
lean to all of the like the national DSA, their stance and their policies and things are not what these candidates are pushing. What they are really pushing are progressive ideals and
Right.
things, and people are connecting with that. And I also think that that is important too. The way they talk about those things, which are kind of DSA platform things. Like, you know, Kristen was asking her, so are you for abolishing prisons? And, I guess that came from the crazy candidate up in New York or whatever. And she was like, no, but I am for abolishing private prisons. And I'm like, yes, we
Right,
can
me
get with
too. I'm
that.
like, everything she said, I was like, yes, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah, people shouldn't be making profit off of people in jail. Like that should not be the case, right? So, and we know how horrific those jails are as well. So, yeah, when she asked her, like I was laughing because she went through the whole litany of the list. Like, do you want to get rid of do you want to defund the Senate? And she's like, no, I don't want to defund anything. Actually, she's like, do you want to defund the military? And she's like, well, and then I love the way that she kind of just took what she was saying and then hit the right note. She's like, well, Pete Hegseth, on the other hand, I don't want to get rid of the Defense Department, but I do want them to do their jobs. We have people who are veterans who are starving right now, and we're in a war. Our people are on a ship and they're not even being taken care of. I mean, she was just hitting. And I was just sitting there like, I have never seen Kristen Welker be dominated in an interview the way that she was, even with Trump, who is very belligerent towards her, rude, nasty. But Angie did it with a smile. But Kristen didn't know what to say. I mean, the part that I clipped was like at the very end. So Angie already had answered the question about why she joined the DSA. She said, I joined the DSA, I joined the Working Fans Party, I joined the NAACP. The thing is, she needed help on the ground. So she joined,
Exactly.
the way I gather it is that she joined the DSA because they do have good, good groundwork that they do, make phone calls, things like that. So she needed the assistance. So she said, okay, well, I agree with like half the things that you say. So I'm gonna join and you can give me the help that I need. And that's fine. To me,
And
that's
that's what
fine.
the Big Tent, it's about coalition building and collaboration. And so I see that as a smart move
Yeah, I thought it
on
was too.
her.
I wasn't gonna knock her because I'm like, I know that she didn't have a lot of money, but if you can get free help at the same time with people knocking on doors and hosting events and things like that, then yeah, the label, does the label really matter that much offline? I'm not talking about it online, because online, on Twitter, on Threads, we have a history with dealing with DSA folks and kind of their like nastiness. But those are the online people. Those are the people that stay online, who say the most outlandish things sometimes. And it's not to say that people on our side don't say outlandish things either, because we've witnessed that this week. But I think that what we our experience with them has been a negative experience. But I can say that, speaking to people, like people offline that I know, I think I don't know if I think I talked about this last time or time before, that there's people in my state who are DSA that I didn't even know that was DSA. My friend, she's DSA. I've known her for 4 years, and she's like the Baltimore City like school commissioner. And I didn't even know she was DSA until I read it in an article, and they're trying to like form like a DSA chapter and da 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 here. And so she was the person that they mentioned. And I was like, she's DSA? I didn't even know. I mean, this not because they don't wear it around their chest. They're not like, I'm DSA, I'm DSA. They're just regular people. And I'm not talking about the white DSA. I'm talking about the black DSA folks. It's not
Mhm.
something that's not on their forehead like I'm a DSA person. Like no one knows. It doesn't define who they are.
Exactly. And again, you and I talk about this. What do these labels even mean anyway? Because I mean, you can say you're a Democrat, but does that mean that everything that the Democratic Party
Right.
stands for that you're for? No. You know, again, like you said, I think there's a difference in the folks that you're engaging online or that you see online with kind of these extreme views and everything. I think a lot of that is kind of rage baiting and done for the algorithm, as opposed to actually trying to get people civically informed and engaged. Uh,
Absolutely. And I think people listen, I have my issues with the DSA. I've always had my issues with them, but there are people who are democratic socialists that have no affiliation with with the DSA or as an organization, right? They don't mess with them because it is a very white leaning organization with and there's separation too, right? Because you have local chapters, and then you also have the nationals, which the national folks are nutty, like they've been on TV talking all kinds of crap, and I'm
Ooh,
like, where the hell did they find these people?
I went down a rabbit hole searching like their national platform, and it is wackadoodle.
It
It's
is nuts.
crazy. It is crazy. But again, like I said, the people who are actually running and doing the work, like an Angie Nixon and a Justin Pearson or whatever, again, like I said, I don't pay attention to the label they're wearing. I listen to the policies that they are supporting and the work that they are doing. For example, data centers have become a big part of the election, issues now. It's now, part of the kitchen table, concerns that everyday people have. And Justin has been fighting against these for a long time because he lives 3 miles from Elon Musk's Grok down there in Memphis, and he has been an environmental, justice, warrior for a very, very long time. And the people in his city and in his state know that. And Angie has been working with her community and the things that she sees are needed in her community. And people see that and they know that. Like these people who I think it's different when you come in, like some of these people who are just performative, who like the Plattner dude or whatever, like, come in pretending to care about working class people when you're not one. Clearly Angie is and Justin is, so they connect and they can relate. There are others. These are the two I'm kind of most, familiar with, but I think that matters. And I think that in this climate, when the gas prices are soaring, grocery prices are soaring, plus we have food that is contaminated that we cannot eat, and the deregulation of it all, people care about that because it's affecting them. It's impacting their lives in everyday lives in real ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think what people are saying, they're saying, I want people to care about the things that I care about, right? I mean, like you said, with the data centers, I mean, that was something that you were talking about last year that, I mean, Miss D, you are always you are ahead of the ball, because Tennessee is always the place where they start the nonsense. Okay?
We are the test pilot for
You
all
are definitely
crazy.
the ones who test everything else. So you guys have, you were talking about that from them. So about, there were protests and there were things happening, and and it's ongoing. But then you start seeing where other people, like for me in my own community, that was a thing that was discussed during our primary, because they're trying to build them here, and people are getting angry, and they're like, no, we don't want any data centers here. Now, we already have data centers. There's about 50 in Maryland, but that's not something that people want more, because they're hearing about the pollution. They're hearing about, the noise, and they're scared. They're like, no, we already have enough problems. We don't want to have our water contaminated, our property values to go down. I mean, there's so many impacts. And that's why many people are saying, let's have a moratorium. No one is saying ban data centers. They're saying pause. Let's pause these data centers and let's do more research. And that video that I posted with AOC, where she had went out to Georgia, and she went out to different areas of Georgia, even to the rural Republican areas, and she talks to them, and it's a powerful video. I don't know if you've seen it, but
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it's a really good video where she goes out and she like just talks to people, and she actually ended up bringing a water sample back to a hearing and had it tested by the EPA person. I mean, she did a really good job on it. So you kind of need, and her and Bernie did put a bill together to kind of put a pause on the moratoriums and all this stuff. So that is an issue that she cares about, but it's also an issue that we care about. So you need people to actually care about some of these issues. Maybe you don't like her. I don't care. That's fine. You don't have to. I don't like half the people in Congress. Okay,
I'm not trying to fall in love with my representatives.
Yeah. I mean, there's people that I love, but there's other people that I'm like, I don't know about that person. And you just kind of go on. But I just think that when we're talking about the issues, there's just so many things that are impacting us now, whether it's, like I said, food, war, gas. I mean, there's so many things that we are all very concerned. I mean, people are getting, what is that? I think they said over 1 million people have been kicked off SNAP. School lunches are super high. I posted about that this morning. Meanwhile, Walmart is getting a $2.9 billion refund because of tariffs. Meanwhile, we paid more for the goods that we bought.
And they're not going to bring the price down.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, we're gonna basically do enhancements. So like, what are you gonna do? Make the lighting better in Walmart? Because it surely is dark in there, and it makes me mad why I can't stand going in there, because it just looks dingy and dirty. But my thing is like, we're not getting refunds. We, the people, are not getting refunds. The people that are getting refunds are the billionaire corporations. So when we hear the progressives talking about the billionaire corporations, I have done my own side eyes. Bernie, he drives me crazy, but he's not wrong. These people are making massive money while the rest of us are not making massive money. You know what I mean? So wages are stagnant. All these things are coming to fruition on the things that we told people in 2024, unfortunately, that would happen. And what we're seeing is that they're actually happening now. And how do we get out of it? How do we stop the bleeding? Because right now we need massive bandages to like make things
tourniquets everywhere.
Yeah, there's a whole lot happening, and it's crazy. So when people are like upset about these candidates, or what these candidates are saying, or what they're doing, I'm just like, I can't sit here and argue with you about these people, because guess what? The voters voted them in, whether it's El Sayed, or whether it's Peggy Flanagan, or it's Angie Nixon, or a David Jolly, who is a former Republican. Okay.
Yes. And
I'm going to be for David Jolly. I will be his biggest cheerleader, because I don't want fathead Byron Donalds to win a goddamn thing.
Me either. And David Jolly is someone who I have watched for a long time. Like he got out, he distanced himself from that party
Mhm.
a long time ago, and I have listened to him in interviews for years since then. And I, um, I really thought that and think that he will be a good governor
Me too.
for, the state of Florida, that he understands what is going on, that he's reasonable, like he understands the issues and he is willing to fight for them and to speak truth to power about them. He doesn't waffle. He's not a Michael Cohen, which that's a whole nother thing,
Girl.
like, and that's why sometimes people say, former, I don't trust you. It's because of folks like Michael Cohen or whatever. But David Jolly has spoken from the beginning about his the problem that he has with his former party. And there are like Freedom Caucus Republicans now who have switched to become Democrats. Joe Walsh, and I mean he's another whole thing. But we have people here who were members of that Freedom Caucus who are not running for office again here in my state because they think their party is crazy and is nuts. And if the Freedom Caucus people are saying they're crazy, some of y'all better listen.
Yeah, 'cause they look crazy. But
Mhm.
that's why I think that like rational people, you could just go for who the best candidate is, right? I mean, and even if you have a long, hard fought primary, guess what? You see that people have unified, right? What I loved about David Jolly, even before he won, right? In the last couple of months, like I said, we've been watching him on MSNBC, MS Now, whatever you want to call it. And I have seen his messaging. His message is not much different than Angie's message. Like on the issues,
Exactly.
the only thing that you could possibly say is that the difference between them, okay, he's a black woman, she's a black woman, he's a white man, right? They're both from I think he's from more of like the Panhandle area, kind of like Tallahassee-ish kind of area. She's from Jacksonville. And he was a former Republican, she's a progressive. I mean, they are no way and shape the same, but yet they both recognize the same issues. They both see the corruption that is happening on that side. They both see the impacts that it's having to people. So whether you are on the, because I don't even know where I guess I would put David Jolly as more of a centrist, a center centrist Democrat. Angie is all the way to the other side of the spectrum, but yet they're talking the same language. And that is the thing that I think that Democrats are missing,
Mhm.
because they want people to be in a box, and not everybody is going to be in this pretty little box. People are going to be different. And I like that. I like that there is a difference in how people are, because I think they're a dynamic duo together on the trail, right?
Exactly.
You have people who are not the same, but yet they're speaking the same language. And it to me, listen, Florida's Florida, right? It's a very strange state. It's a huge state, up and down, side to side. And will either of them win? I don't know. But in this climate, this is the best chance they have. And people saying, well, the Hispanic people are not gonna, they're not gonna listen to somebody who is affiliated with the Democratic Social. Let me tell you right now, them Hispanic people don't even know what a DSA is. Okay,
Mhm.
they don't know what a DSA is. They don't have a clue what a DSA. Some of them like them MAGAs. They are MAGA, but there are younger Hispanics and people who are Caribbean who are kind of like on the outside of the Democratic Party, right? They haven't been engaged in a really long time. And if Angie comes into Little Haiti, or she goes into Orange County and she is talking their language about what it is that they are struggling with, she can get more votes than people think. And I really, really want people to have a different perspective on this, because the same thing I felt with Michigan, right? People like, Alcide can't win Michigan. He's not going to win now. And then we see that the tides are changing, because guess what? The party unified. The people got behind one another. Haley got behind him. And yes, there's like a lot of things happening, but a lot of that is happening online. It's not happening on the ground. And our good sis is trying to tell people and they're not listening.
Exactly, exactly. And I think those candidates who continue to tap into the issues of their community and speak to them and go to them and ask for their vote are going to see the folks show up and vote for them. And I think one of the things that I've noticed in all of these recent elections is typically midterm turnouts are low. They are blowing those numbers out of the water everywhere. Here in Tennessee, where we have historically, we have been like at the bottom as far as turnout for years. We hit 2010 election numbers in turnout because people are feeling the results of this regime and they don't like it. It's not good. Even the folks who voted for him are sick of him, and the pain that he is causing them intentionally. The folks in the military, the way that he's treating them, it's a shame that you start this crazy war, and we're going to end up with a worse outcome than when we started, because the deal that Obama put in place was good and it was working. He's not even going to be able to get that. Iran is probably going to end up, holding, power there in the Strait of Hormuz, forget about the nuclear weapons kind of thing. But people see this and it is reflected in their lived experience, and they want someone who is authentic, who is speaking to those experiences and offering real fixes, not crazy pie in the sky kind of things. And just recently here, talking about Justin, they went back because I told you, like I said last year when I was talking about these data centers and they were protesting, nobody was really listening to them, not even elected Democrats, okay, in office on the city council. Well, now fast forward year later, they got a moratorium.
Oh, they did get it. I saw that Justin was fighting for it. Good.
Yes, yes. So people are paying attention and politicians are listening. And those who are running need to take note and watch some of these politicians like Angie and Justin and others who are doing things, who are out there on the ground. They have, the ear of their constituency. And they're addressing that, and that matters, because I'm sick. I'm kind of bouncing around here again, but I want to talk for a minute about the military, because they finally, that the USS Lincoln has been over there for almost a year, like 9 months, which is kind of unheard of even in wartime. Like sailors, they need a break to be able to be combat ready. You can't be when you're stretched that thin, and then you don't have facilities that are working and other things that you need. People have fallen overboard or jumped overboard. Family members have called their representatives to complain. So finally, they did send a replacement. So I just read a couple of days ago, the USS Washington is now there to replace them. I think they arrived on the 19th. So thank goodness for that. And that's just an example of how little this regime cares about the military, that they are using in really untold ways, like sending them into our streets and stuff. But you're sending them to a war and not providing them with the resources that they need, and expect them to have good outcomes, expect to win. Like it's just crazy time, you know. And the last thing I want to say is he's also making moves to change, like, the new ships that are being built or whatever. He
Mhm.
wants to regress. It's the equivalent of his thoughts on energy going back to coal. Like, they use an electromagnetic kind of system to launch things off the ship, and
Okay.
he wants them to go back to, like, steam systems going backwards, which will require more sailors to do that. So you're not even taking care of the sailors
Right.
that are.
I didn't even know this. Oh my gosh, this sounds horrible. I don't understand what's happening. I mean, the fact that the only reason that that ship is leaving is because of the reporting. So I will give the media credit. I don't know who got them the story about the person that jumped off the ship, and it seemed like there have been complaints for quite a while about this, about the conditions on this ship. But it was because of the, I think it was the Washington Post. It was the Washington Post and New York Times who got the reporting on this, gave it to Aaron, and then it became a bigger story. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, the ship is going to leave. So I will give the media credit for being able to report the story and put and applying pressure so that we could get our soldiers out of there. It is unbelievable how bad they are being treated. When I was listening to MSNBC or MS Now, and they were talking about the conditions on the ship, the fact that ships technically shouldn't even be out there longer than 6 months. They're supposed to get breaks. They're not getting breaks. I mean, I can't even imagine being stuck on a ship for that long in those conditions and people thinking that that was okay. But this is what happens when you have a freaking Fox News host who is running our military and a president who does not care about anyone but himself. And this is what we warn people that would happen, but they refuse to listen.
Yeah, and now he's treating the sailors, in a very inhumane kind of way. Yet he wants credit. I just want to get this in our conversation. They are building new ships, and they have one that is in the process of being built that was to be named the after Dory Miller,
I
who
saw.
was a black sailor in 1940s, and he was a mess man, working in the kitchen, because it was still a very segregated military at that time. But when the attack on Pearl Harbor happened, he grabbed a weapon that he hadn't even been trained on and started defending his ship. Okay, he is a hero, and that ship was being named after him. And the Orange Demon now wants to, with all of their DEI crap, wants they don't want to name it that, and he wants to put his name on it. First of all, living people and presidents don't have ships named after them.
Exactly.
It's
It's
crazy.
just the absurdness of it all, right? Because he's such a narcissist, and it's just so sad. Like I just feel I'm like, why would anyone join the military? Like at this point, like why would you? I mean, other than obviously education and jobs. I mean, there's very little jobs, so maybe the younger people are like but knowing the conditions that you could be putting yourself into, it's very sad because people should, there are people that their family was in the military. I mean, you were in the military, that is something that they look forward to. They're like, I'm going to go in the military. They're like very patriotic and very proud to do that. And for it to turn out the way that it has under this regime, like you said, is painful to watch, because it's discouraging to people who wanted a career in the military, because it is a career.
It is, like, as you said, I come from a military family. I have people on both sides of my family who have served in all branches of the service except for the Coast Guard. There might have been someone that served in there, but I have a first cousin who just recently retired from the Navy. She was a Navy commander, and literally they had to push her out. She loved her job.
Right. There are people that
And
love being in the military.
she did 30 years, and they were like, okay, lady, it's time to go.
That's funny.
But you're not going to get people behaving like that under these kind of conditions and this regime. And it matters because we have the strongest military in the world, but even that can be destroyed, and that is exactly what he's doing. I feel like, I mean, he's making it easy for our adversaries, like no matter,
Yeah.
because all
I
of
mean,
these
you can
things.
literally. I think the Iranians are making videos making fun of how poorly he's treating our military, and they're not even doing it in a way that is like disrespectful to the soldiers. It's like disrespectful to him because he's so horrible and he deserves it. Like I don't want to agree with the Iranians in any kind of way, but I'm seeing the video and I'm like, you know what? They're actually right. They're not even telling a lie because this is what's truly happening, and it's disheartening. It really is disheartening to watch how this has unfolded over the last, year and a half that he's been in an office. And it's just
God, it seems like an eternity.
it's like we got a whole another year and a half of this shit. Like how are we gonna keep going on? And what's making me more mad, and this is something I do want to talk about, is how people are being rage baited constantly. Like constantly. Now there are things to be enraged about. This is one of those things that you should be enraged about
Absolutely.
because it should give you like a visceral reaction to know that our military is being treated like shit. But there are other things that I feel like people are not aware of, and I think we have talked about misinformation and how it spreads, and sometimes it's not necessarily misinformation, it's the way that it's framed, the way that people are posting about stuff. And I just want to bring that to people's attention because I did a post this week about rage baiting. And I don't think that people understand how they are being rage baited, right? So the RNC will post a video and they will point out a specific thing. I'm not even going to talk about the specific thing that happened, but I'm just going to use it in general terms. They will post something, or let's say end wokeness, or and whatever end wokeness. So there's like a bunch of these different sites or pages, and then someone else will share that video, and then it will translate to other people then taking that video and then making posts about that video, but they didn't really listen to the whole entire context. And even if you are mad about the context of how the video, what was said in the video, the whole point of the RNC clipping that certain thing was to rage bait you. That was the purpose, because they purposely were trying to target a specific audience to then take that video and then have it spread, and then people be up in arms over it. That is rage baiting. It doesn't mean that you have to agree or disagree with what is in the video. The purpose of it was to piss you off. And guess what? It worked. It worked.
And they're good at that. And this is like, we've talked about this before, because they do have a system, an infrastructure to be able to distribute and broadcast their message, no matter how awful they are. They have a system that can carry this through in a way that the Democrats have not yet matched. And kind of going back to some of our conversation, what I love, it's like we're in an information war. We're like in a real hot war, but we have been in an information war, and they are taking advantage of that, and people are falling into it and being, tricked, with these kinds of things that they are doing. And it really is important for people to understand, how they are being baited and misinformed, which, it behooves people to learn to get good information and find good resources for information so that they don't just rely on, social media posts from various, places and platforms.
Yeah, because what happens is that the RNC knows that if they post something and then they get an account that people like kind of trust to relay that information. So if the person is, so in this case, like let's say El Sayed, right? They know that a person that people don't like him. So they already have their feelings about him. So what they do is they post the video, make, put a caption on it. Then somebody else takes that video and that person puts a caption on it. And now you're only seeing a portion of the video and you're reacting based on that. But the reason that they did that again is to target a specific audience. Now,
Mhm.
so for me, my thing is my advice is to people is if you see something and it comes from one of these sites that are in a Republican like leaning type of account, if you see it, the information is right there. You can see who the original source of the video is from, and you still carry that information. And then you say, okay, well, let me go research this a little bit more and see if I could find a little bit more context, maybe a little bit more understanding of what this is. Instead of just reacting to it and running to make a video or running to tweet about it or comment on it, like sit on it, just sit on it and just kind of like digest what it is and then come back. And if you still feel strongly about it now that you have all the information and you want to post about it, then that's fine. But don't just react because your reaction then triggers another person's reaction, which then triggers another person's reaction. And then guess what? Now everybody's enraged and it's a whole thing. And that doesn't do good for any of us who are trying to fight this regime, trying to get Republicans out of power. Again, I'm not asking people to agree or disagree with it. I'm just asking you to do better research.
Yeah, to really do the work of informing yourself, not just engaging, and getting caught up in the rage baiting or rage baiting yourself. I mean, sometimes that can be a little fun or whatever, but we really do have to get back to a place where we can find reliable news sources. Again, going back to the military, they have also the Stars and Stripes has been a um, a thing for military folks for forever. And now they have taken that over, and the publisher, because it's not a military um, paper per se. I mean, it is for military people, but the person that runs it and is not a military person. They hire military people. They have journalists that work for them, but now the publisher is resigning, and it is because of the stuff that is being done by this regime and Pete Hegseth, basically clamping down and dictating what they can write and post. Of course, they're talking about how woke they are and all of these things. And that breaks my heart. I was featured in it once for some of the stuff that I did, but military people do rely on that stuff. So they're just breaking all the good things in this country. And, part of the reason that we are here is because of this information war that people have fallen into, and some
Absolutely.
folks don't even realize it. So,
I don't think they do realize it. And I think a lot of people they go off the clips and they don't really do the research. And even just and it's very triggering to me because I've seen it multiple times over the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that really bothered me over the weekend was the Hakeem Jeffrey stuff, right? Because
mhm.
that was also the media trying to play games. He didn't give the best answer to me. He could have spun that a whole little different way. But what we are seeing is that the media is asking gotcha questions and kind of they're not rage baiting, but they are baiting Democrats so to then for them to say something. So then now it becomes a clip, and that clip then turns into everyone saying, we don't like Hakeem, get Hakeem out of here. We don't want him to be speaker, da 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 da. We got Charlemagne and this one and that one taking all that information rather than just thinking about it logically and saying, okay, actually, we don't have a trifecta. There is no way we're going to get Medicare for all passed anytime soon. We do need to focus on getting these people out of power. We then will have a vote on who's going to be the speaker, and then we can try to get those ACA subsidies back and try. We may not be able to do it. If we only have the House and even if we have the House and the Senate, you still have Donald Trump as president. And this is where the civics part of this comes in, because I don't think people understand. And guess what? Even if we were to have a trifecta come 2029, you know what's going to happen? You still have about 10 more years until Medicare for all can actually be implemented. So what do you do in the interim? The conversations that we're having are not actually real conversations. Yes, I mean, most people would say, if you ask somebody, do you want the government to pay for your health care? Absolutely. Do you think government should pay for your health care? Absolutely. Do you want universal health care? Do you think that Medicare for all is the solution? Yes, but what does that mean? What does that even look like? How do we pay for it question? That was a big question in 2020. It'll be a big question again as we move forward. But we also see we can find, there's ways to maybe find the money. And I do think that El Sayed talks about the Medicare for all thing, because he's a doctor. He's not a physician, but he's a doctor, and he's an epidemiologist, and he understands. He wrote a whole book about Medicare for all, so he can actually talk through it better than most people, because there's a lot.
I listened to him in an interview about that. He speaks about it.
He's very good at speaking on it, and how we can shift kind of what we pay for and be able. So people are. I work in the industry, right? I mean, I this is what I do. I work with unions and on their healthcare. So I understand this a lot better than most people as well. But I want people to be realistic about this, because just because somebody says they want to pass Medicare for all, it ain't passing. We've been talking about Medicare for all for the last 10 years. If we would have got Hillary, and we probably would have been a lot more closer to Medicare for all today than we would have been having Donald Trump.
Yeah, because she was the first one who kind of brought that up, like when her husband was in office. Okay,
exactly. She's been advocating for a long time, and we get stuck again. We get stuck on slogans and these policies, but there is ways to make that Medicare for all bill much better, but people are just stuck to it. So I appreciate a Dr. El Sayed who's saying today on his page that maybe employers and unions can keep some of their plans, because guess what? This is it can't be a all or nothing kind of thing. That's not realistic. And I want politicians to talk in realistic terms, whether they're talking about the food insecurity, whether they're talking about housing, whether they're talking about the military. We need to have real conversations and talk about how we're going to implement some of this stuff, because that conversation it's just missing. It's just missing in it all.
Yeah, I mean, because when they were trying to pass the ACA, they were screaming about the death panels and all of this stuff. God. I mean,
these kids have never lived through that craziness.
Yeah, but I mean, we always kind of had death panels, in that we had insurance companies dictating what care you could get and what you couldn't. And one horrific story that came out of Nashville here recently, I don't know if you saw it on my timeline or not, but several people went into surgery for knee replacements. And, I used to work for an orthopedic surgeon. And so this really touched me, but ended up paralyzed. Oh, wow. Not because of what the surgeon did, but because their epidurals had the wrong medicine in it. Like, we need, regulation and processes around that, and this is not an administration that cares about that, but that breaks my heart. I'm going to continue following it and posting about it, but that is so sad. I think it's like for families, and I recall something like this happening when I was working for the surgeons for an outpatient um, center, surgery center that we had sent people to, because sometimes people get injections for pain and things like that. And there was kind of some bad medicine that got administered, but it
Wow.
didn't paralyze people. But you're talking about a hospital that is part of a huge network system.
They're gonna be
Hmm.
sued. Oh my God.
Yeah,
But yeah, once stuff like that happens, you can't get it back, right? I mean, you're not going to be. It's just a bad thing. But deregulation is a major problem, and yeah, whether you claim to be a socialist or you claim to be a capitalist or whatever thing you think you are, you might be a social democrat. I don't know what the hell people are. I don't really care what you are at this point. I know I'm a capitalist, but I am a capitalist that wants regulation. I want the regulation. We need the regulation. We cannot continue to go down this road with all of this corruption. It is not becoming, and we're never going to get rid of this capitalist system no matter what people think, but it needs to be better regulated. End of story.
it definitely does. And as we, start to, wrap up here, I just want to remind folks that, we're in election season and it matters. And we all need to be out there. Of course, the candidates running need to be out here doing their job and talking to the people. Like we have a governor's race going on, and pretty much like Angie, our Democratic nominee won handily because she had done what Angie did. She's been going around the state like the last 2 years, Jerry Green. And she just recently got endorsed by the Tennessee AFL CIO union, which is good. So I just want people to make sure that they understand what is at stake and that it matters. Like we can't have any of this, not voting, sitting out and looking for perfection and having these, kind of purity tests that ends up keeping us stuck or making things worse for us, because we cannot have this trifecta in our federal government continuing, because that's why things were so awful here in Tennessee, because we have had a trifecta for almost 2 decades. And people don't, they call it a red state now, but what people don't realize is, like Michigan, it hasn't always been that way. Like Michigan is blue now, but it wasn't always. Tennessee is red now, but it wasn't always. We used to be one of those swing states. I mean, we're the state, we voted overwhelmingly for Clinton and of course Al Gore, so things, states are blue until they're not. You
Right.
just
And
can't.
yeah, you're right about that. And states are red until they're not too, because that
Exactly.
can be, of course, there's gerrymandering and all this other stuff. But when it comes to statewide elections, that is where there is no gerrymandering, right? I think people forget that there's no gerrymandering in the statewide, but there is voter suppression. And that
Mhm.
is what we need to watch out for, because we already know they're going to try to cheat, because that's what they always do. And so there is multiple factors that go into this as we move into November. But I think I read this week that there's 11 weeks left until election day, which is insane.
I know.
And we have a long road to go. I don't, we also have a ballot measure on our ballot now. We weren't going to have it initially, but we passed redistricting, at least the constitutional amendment that needs to be approved, and so that we can redistrict. So we got work to do here too. I mean, nothing is easy. Whether you live in a blue or in a red state or purple state, you have to get out and do what you need to do so that we can actually, like I said, stop the bleeding from what we are experiencing right now. It is horrific.
Yeah. And this guy, I mean, he's been trying to get state voter rolls and all kinds of things. And, he has all kinds of, shenanigans planned for this election. And fortunately, the Democrats are aware of this and
Right.
they have been game, gaming out the things that they can do to stop some of it. And I just read an article this week where he is sending out thousands of election monitors, and that's not to help. We need to just be aware of this moment and our power. We need to use our individual power, and the least of that power is voting, but it's really very important because once that's gone, yeah.
Yeah, people can complain until they're blue, right? I mean, there's always going to be there's always going to be a complaint, there's always going to be a problem. But at what point do we switch the focus to stop infighting and turn it back around and say these Republicans are an ish and we got to get them out of here, and and we just unite for the next 11 weeks, unless we can fight about everything else after that, but for the next 10 weeks, can we please just focus on winning and beating them? Please.
Exactly. You know what I used to say, we can have these different ideas about Medicare, healthcare for all, and data centers and all of these things. And we can have these fights and these different stances. And that makes for a healthy democracy, the friction and the debate, so that you can get good options for, the majority of the people. But we won't be able to even have those debates and arguments if we don't have a democracy. Like, all of the choice is gone. So
yeah, and I actually saw something the other day that said that young people don't really relate to the word democracy.
Yeah.
What they relate to is the word freedom.
Exactly. And that's what I say, like, your rights and freedoms are being taken, because I realize, like, when we were saying democracy at the state, it doesn't mean that much to them. But when we say your rights and your freedoms are at stake and being taken away, folks understand that, because it's happening in real time right now. Our abortion.
People.
Yeah,
it's actually happening. So yeah, no, we have to win. We have to stop the bleeding. So listen, I get it. No, there's going to be candidates that folks don't like. There's candidates that I don't like. I didn't like John Fetterman. I shut my damn mouth and kept it moving after he won, and I just stayed quiet, and I didn't sit there and just complain about him all day. When the Republicans were attacking him, even though I could not stand that man and still cannot, I defended him, because guess what? It's bigger than one person, and it's bigger than me. And sometimes you just gotta suck it up and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay quiet. I don't like the person. I can't stand the person, but you know what? I'm gonna just sit over here and just not say anything and not cause a ruckus all on social media. Exactly. And I wish that people would kind of just let the voters in Michigan have a fair fight in here and let them figure out what they want to do. Same thing with Florida, same thing in many of these states. And South Carolina, they have races that are going on. I mean, there's Darlene.
Yes, I don't talk politics.
Girl, Darlene. I don't even think she knew where Taiwan was. I mean, come on, this is craziness. But this is that type of stuff that we are up against, and yet we're arguing about Medicare for all. I mean, these people are dumb. Like, what are we doing? Exactly. Can we get to the point where we can have a real true debate on this and not necessarily fight about the little things that are driving? Listen, I get it. There is major issues. Whether there's anti-blackness, there's anti-Semitism, there's Islamophobia, there's all kinds of bigotry that is happening out here, and we don't all have to agree. You know what I mean? We don't all have to agree. We will. There are things that we are never going to agree on. But if you don't like somebody, guess what? You don't have to say nothing. You can just be quiet. As I said about the Fetterman lady, it's free. It is free.
Exactly. It is. And so, folks, we want to thank you guys for joining us for this Fired Up Friday. Of course, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. And we hope you will join us again. But make sure that you follow Tiff and I on the various different platforms. You can find her, Candidly Tiff. I think she is probably on most of the major platforms. And you can find me, Advocacy Arena or D Batiste. I'm pretty much active on Substack, Blue Sky. I'm still on the Hellscape X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Spoutable. So again, I want to thank you guys for joining us. And Tiff, any final words to our friends here?
Breathe, guys, breathe. It's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. But I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of doomerism. I'm tired of negativity. I'm tired of infighting. And we gotta work. We gotta work the next 11 weeks to try to beat these Republicans. They are scared, and I want them to stay shook for a reason.
Exactly. So I'm going to leave you with stay informed, stay engaged, and use the power that you have, because we all have power and it matters, especially in this moment. So till next time, guys, take care. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.